Jai Gurudev. Jai Masters. Almost every spiritual teacher that has ever walked the face of this earth has taught that mind is the problem. It's not that mind is a problem. Mind does not have to be a problem. But mind is the problem. What do you mean? Spirituality is about transcending yourself, returning to the highest aspect of your being, which someday you will directly experience is the source of the universe. Your consciousness, your awareness of being is God descended. That's what it is. You don't have to believe that. I don't want you to believe that. I want you to experience it. Well, how could you experience it without believing it? Because consciousness, awareness of being, is what they mean by soul. It is the essence of your being. You are conscious. You notice you have thoughts. If you look out through your eyes, you see your body. You're not your body. It's something you see. It's yours. I like the possessive pronoun. Like, your body. Have you seen your body lately? Whose? That's a possessive pronoun. I want to know whose body it is. And whose thoughts? My thoughts are bothering me lately. Whose thoughts? My is ownership. Your is ownership. You intuitively use the exact right language. You don't have to read anything. Why? Because it's the truth. You're in here, you're conscious, and you're aware. That's what consciousness means. There's a quality of consciousness, awareness. I'm aware. And what you're aware of is thoughts, emotions, and form. And your body, unfortunately, I don't want to render it down to that. It's part of form. It's made of atoms, just like everything else around here. Nothing so special about the thing. And so the consciousness is what this is all about. And basically, why can't you sit in the source of consciousness? Everything has a source. Water flowing through a tap has a source. Down in the well, underground, the sunlight has a source, the sun. What is the source of your consciousness? Where did your consciousness come from? How did you get in there? Where did awareness come from? Where did consciousness come from? Where is consciousness going to go when the body dies? I don't even want you answering these questions. I don't. Beliefs are of the mind. They can change at any time. You believe all kinds of things at different ages in your life, and you believe different things. I know it's embarrassing, but it's true. I believe I love you more than anyone I've ever met. Oh, now that I've met you, I believe you're the one, right? I believe you're my soulmate. I must have been wrong because you're my soulmate. I believe you're my... Believe anything you want. I believe all human beings came from Mars. Okay, believe whatever you want. I don't care. And don't try to prove it with your mind either. It's all mind. Those are mind. They're thoughts in your mind. If you want to hold on to thoughts in your mind, you are welcome to do so. You do. Everyone does. We hold on to thoughts in our mind. Fine. Who knows this? How do you know you have thoughts in your mind? How do you know what you believe? So I believe this. How do you know? Well, they get really mad at me because my mind is telling me so. That's how you know. If you woke up in the morning and your mind told you something different, then that's what it is. That's why I started a talk by saying every spiritual teacher that ever lived said mind is the problem. Why? If the solution is merger, oneness with God, to return to the source, to return to the kingdom within you, the self, the Atman, the soul, man is created in the image of God. God don't have two arms and two legs and a nose. I know you like to paint him that way, or her, okay? No. When the Bible says man is created in the image of God, that is a truth. And someday you will come to know that truth if you will do the proper work. So basically, you are the consciousness inside, and you watch the mind, and you watch the emotions that come from the heart, and you can look out through your senses, or not, you don't, I told you. You are not looking out through your senses, no more than a computer's CPU is looking out through the sensors that it has. The sensors are picking up light, sound, touch, taste, whatever it is. Your sensors are picking these up from the outside world, and they're sending them back to you. You are not looking out. If you just understood that, you'd be half awake. Do you realize right now, you are not looking at me. You're not. Go ask any scientist. What is happening is light is bouncing off of objects, such as this object, and it is reflecting back and being picked up by your photosensitive cells in your eyes. I'll prove it to you. Turn off the lights. Well, you can't during the day. I have to turn off the sun. But if I was to teach you at night, I could literally say, turn off the lights. I bet you can't see me. And you'd say, well, of course I can't see you. The lights are off. It's not that the light makes it so you can see me. It's that the light beams or photons are bouncing off exactly where the atoms that make up my body and are reflecting back to you and being picked up by your eyes and being passed back to your consciousness. And the same thing goes for taste, and the same thing goes for sound. That's it. The senses are sensors. They're picking this up and sending them back to you. You're in here. That is the part that is made in the image of God. That's why Christ said the kingdom is within you. What do you think that means? Oh, it means the kingdom is within you. Not just within you inside, within you. You who's indwelling. The consciousness. That's who you are. When you said, this is your body, whose? Yours. Who's this you? The awareness, the consciousness. My thoughts are bothering me. My thoughts have been so happy lately. How do you know? This is the depth of spirituality. How do you know that your thoughts are bothering you? How do you know that you heard a song yesterday and it won't stop going on in your mind? You just say it so passively. God, the song just won't go out of my mind. How do you know? How do you know? Well, because I'm conscious and I'm aware and I'm in here. That's the you that was made in the image of God. That's the you that the kingdom is within. You use the words perfectly. You say, you are in there. If I ask you, are you in there? Are you in there? Are you sure? Are you in there? Okay. How do you know you're in there? Because I'm in here. That is the essence of consciousness. That is the self. That is the Atman. You are already there. You don't have to struggle to be there. Okay, we're going to talk about mind in a moment, what trouble it causes. But basically, you're in there. You have always been in there. Were you in there when you were little? When you wanted a Barbie or a toy or something? Were you in there? Your consciousness has been in there the entire time. So basically, you're in there. Well, then, if you, this you, I'm going to talk about you in there, that is what is meant by man, woman, is created in the image of God. And the kingdom is within you. It's the exact same thing it's talking about. You, right? Well then, why don't I know that? Why am I not realized? Why have I not realized the self? If I am the self, how can I not realize myself? All right? Take a breath and I'll tell you a little story. You have in there this thing called a mind. Well, is that bad? I don't know. You have a hand. Is it bad that you have a hand? If it picks up a weapon and kills somebody, it's not so good. You have a car. If it runs around hitting people, it's not doing so well. In other words, your mind can be good, your mind can be bad. It's just a mind. It's a tool. It's something you have. The hand, I know what it does. What does the mind do? It creates thoughts. The new book goes very deep into this, Living Untethered, the book. What is the mind? How does it create thoughts? What are thoughts? The point is you have one. Tag, you're it. You know you have it. You know you're in there. You know you have thoughts. You talk about them all the time. But I think, what do you mean I think? There you go again. There's an I who does a verb. There's a thing called a subject, isn't it? I think. So you have a mind that can create these things called thoughts. The important point I want to know is that you know that. You already know that. Why do I need to tell you you have a mind that creates thoughts? You know you have a mind that creates thoughts. You wish it didn't. Try to sit down to meditate and tell me whether you have a mind that creates thoughts. Are you willfully creating the thoughts that are making it so you can't meditate? I'm going to repeat that question. Are you willfully saying, I'm going to sit down to meditate. I'm going to sit down to meditate and I'll make my mind be really noisy. Is that what you do? I don't think so. And then you sit down to meditate and say, I need to get my mind quiet, but I don't know how to. My mind just won't shut up. How do you know? How do you know? How do you know? How do you know? If you sit down for 15 minutes to meditate and nothing happens, and you get up and you go to your teacher and say, I just can't make my mind shut up. It just talked the entire 15 minutes. How do you know? Not how do I stop that? It is not about stopping that. It's about how do you know that it did that? Because you who knows that it did that is meditation. If you can get back to the one who's in there that knows, that sees, it's called the seer. You know, in ancient Egypt, a seer was a prophet. a seer, someone who could see. You see in there. What do you see? Everything. You see every emotion. You see every change in your heart. You see everything that passes before you. You see your thoughts. You see how something came before you and then it created a thought and made an emotion happen. You live in there. I'm going to cry. You live in there. Who does? You do. I don't need the mind to think about, okay, I'm going to study the you. No, don't study the you. You who's studying the you is you. That's what meditation is returning to the source of consciousness. That's what Patanjali describes meditation as. He talks about concentration, withdrawal of the senses. Then he studied the Yoga Sutras. Withdrawal of the senses, pratyahara, concentration, dharana, meditation, dhyana. And what does he say meditation is? Consciousness not leaving the seat of consciousness. Consciousness concentrating on consciousness, not concentrating on the object of consciousness. Senses, thoughts, emotions, those are objects of consciousness. They're things that consciousness is aware of. Meditation is to be aware of being aware. You've pulled the self back to the self. It's called the seat of consciousness. It's called being centered. It's called becoming established in the seat of self. If you're established in the seat of self, you're meditating. You don't need to do anything. And let's get this down. Two things. If you know these two things, you know everything. Consciousness and object of consciousness. Light and what it's shining on. Light and what it's illuminating. Light shines on any object you want, and it illumines that object. The light is the same. If I move it around, flashlight is the same light shining on different objects. It is the same consciousness being aware of different objects of consciousness. That's what's going on. There is consciousness and object of consciousness. How many consciousnesses are there within you? There's only one consciousness. Is it the same you who feels love and feels discomfort? Are you aware that you feel love sometimes? Are you aware you feel discomfort and turmoil sometimes? Is it the same you that knows both? This is the essence of spirituality. There's nothing else to talk about. There is you in there, a conscious being, and it is aware of various objects of consciousness. Love is an object of consciousness. Sorry, I know you like to be more poetic and romantic about it. Love is an object of consciousness. How do you know you're feeling love? I felt tremendous love. How do you know? And then I didn't. How do you know? Because you're in there. And notice you, that's the you. You're in there. Someday you're going to find out what that you is. That is what all the great masters wrote about. That is heaven. That is the kingdom. That is everything. The consciousness itself. Consciousness is consciousness. All consciousness is the same. It has no other quality. It's just a quality of awareness. I don't want to go too high up there. When I point like this, that's where it is. It's back here. You're looking down here. When you look out, you're looking down through your eyes. How do I know it's back there? People ask that sometimes. How does anybody know that? Because you get pulled back there. They literally, like a vacuum cleaner, starts pulling you up into it. And you have to let go because you're scared. Okay? You're too busy being the object of consciousness to be willing to be pulled back into consciousness. But someday, if you work on it, and you will, if I have anything to do with it, and I'm not talking about work on meditation. I'm talking about work on liberating yourself, freeing yourself 24/7, the whole thing, forever. And basically, as you let go, and we'll talk about that, you get pulled back in, and you'll feel yourself expanding back. And as you go further back, you will realize that the consciousness that is you looking down at your mind, at your heart, and at your body is the same consciousness that's looking at hers, and the same consciousness looking at hers. There's only one consciousness. We're saying that with the Shema. The Lord is one. That's the whole teaching of oneness. And all the great religions and all the great teachers taught that, those who knew. It is just, problem is, this consciousness is looking at your mind. Therefore, it identifies with your mind. Therefore, you're busy being this little you, the little personal self. And you run around, oh my God, he doesn't like me. What am I going to do? Oh my gosh, she does like me, but I'm married. What am I going to do? And you just, that's it. And now we're ready to talk about where I started it. The problem is mind. The problem is not your consciousness. Your consciousness is God. Your consciousness is perfect. This consciousness that is aware of what you're aware of is of God. It is of spirit. That's what spirit is. That's everything. So basically, consciousness is not seated in its highest state. Why? Okay. Because of mind. What do you mean? Is mind the devil? No. Mind is something that can create thoughts. It's nice to have one. I don't want to not have one. They're nice. They're very useful little things. Okay? They can do great things. Look, it's cool in here, but it's hot outside. Or it's nice and warm in here and it's cold outside. You created air conditioning, even reverse cycle, all kinds of things, or heat pumps. And you're really pretty smart guys and gals. You did a lot with your mind, didn't you? Your mind is phenomenal. You have a mind that is capable of creating thoughts. That is a tremendous gift that was given to you that helps you express yourself, that helps you create art, it creates mechanics. It flew to the moon, for God's sakes. It is a phenomenal thing. So when we talk about that mind is the problem, no, mind is not the problem. It is what you do with your mind that's a problem. Muktananda Baba once said, "Dear ones, Baba found out that he could enter samadhi while the mind was talking." Whoa, no. How can that happen? I thought we have to quiet our mind. Why? Do you have to stop cars from driving by to enter meditation? No. The problem is the consciousness gets distracted. That's the key word. Consciousness, awareness, is aware of what? What it gets distracted by. We are all distracted from God. We are distracted from the seat of consciousness that is phenomenal. Maybe I need to let this out now. Everything has its quality. Buddhists say everything has its nature. A rattlesnake, a butterfly, a car, they have their nature. They give different vibrations. What is the nature of self? Does consciousness have a nature? We know that it's aware, but what is its nature? In the great scriptures going back thousands of years, they gave it a name, Satchidananda, eternal conscious bliss. That is the nature of you. I don't care what problems you think you're having. You're filled with ecstasy. You are the seat of nirvana. That's where Buddha went with nirvana. They gave it another name. Nirvana is Satchidananda, eternal conscious bliss. How would you like to live there? That's who you are. That is what is inside of you. The consciousness that is looking down and getting distracted is getting distracted from Satchidananda. Uh-oh. That doesn't sound like much fun, right? There is a state of your being. It is the state of your being. Now, very interestingly, in the ancient Upanishads, the ancient scriptures, they don't just use Satchidananda as a name for self. It is a name for God. Oh my God, they use the same name. Is that blasphemy? No, it's not blasphemy. They are the same thing. The eternal conscious ecstasy of what created the universe is what is looking down at your mind. You're going to know this someday. That is what is looking down at your mind. That's why man was created in the image of God. That's why the kingdom is within you. That is the oneness. But that consciousness, that Satchidananda, how about if I call it Satchidananda? That's kind of a nice thing to call it, isn't it? So basically, let's call God Satchidananda, eternal conscious bliss. That's a nice God. Okay, so we have this ecstasy, this ecstatic state of your being, and it is. That is the nature of consciousness. Well, why don't I feel that? Because your consciousness is distracted by your mind. It is distracted by every single thing your mind says. Oh my God, what's going to happen if I do that? I can't believe I said that. Oh my God, no one will ever like me again. I hope they don't find out. That's just me, or anybody got one of those going on there? That is the nature of the personal mind. We'll get there in a moment. But your mind does that. Your mind worries. You know what worrying means. Anybody know about self-consciousness, embarrassment, guilt, anger, resentment? Anybody know these foreign words to y'all? Oh, I see. You know about them. Okay? Because the mind does that, doesn't it? The mind talks about that, doesn't it? And that distracts your consciousness. Your consciousness, instead of being able to sit all the time in a state of deep peace, love, joy, ecstasy, which is your nature, you are being distracted by your mind. And then you're being distracted by your emotions. This is the fall from the garden. First you're in ecstasy, then all of a sudden you realize the mind can cause trouble and I'm being distracted by it, and then all of a sudden the heart starts doing things that aren't always so much fun. Anyone distracted by their emotions? That is your consciousness being drawn away from your divine state, being distracted by these objects of consciousness. If you get this once in your life, it will change your entire life. This is what's going on. So the emotions get created, and then you have this thing called form. You have a thing called form. Is there stuff out there? Men, women, people, cars, Ferraris, Volkswagens, broken things, fixed things, old things, young things, sick things, healthy things. Oh my God, there's so much out there. Did I name them all yet? There's not a chance in the world. There's things out there. Have you ever noticed that when they come in, they make your emotions and your mind do things? Then you get distracted by the world. You get distracted by your emotion. You get distracted by your mind. By the time you're done, you're distracted. Every single moment, you're distracted by something. Your consciousness is your consciousness. You should be able to put your awareness anywhere you want. It's yours. That's the essence of your being. If you're trying to study, have you ever tried to read a book and find out you turned 3 pages and didn't read a thing? Well, how did that happen? Were your eyes not working? The light wasn't bouncing off the page and sending letters back to you? Everything was working just fine, except your consciousness was distracted by your mind, or your emotions, generally your mind, was distracted by your mind. So you were actually in there and thoughts were being created. Here we go, we're doing it, right? Thoughts were being created. Were you making that happen? No, you're trying to read your book. You're not sitting there saying, now thoughts, make a complete mess out of my mind so that I can be distracted by my book. Which one of you did that? No one. It just happened. Your mind created thoughts by itself, didn't it? And your consciousness got distracted by those thoughts, and you're turning the page as if you're reading. There ain't nothing getting in there. There. Does that describe anything about your life? Because that's why you're not seated in God. Because you are seated in God. But your consciousness, which is the divine consciousness, is distracted by your mind. I'll start with mind. We can do heart in a minute. Once you get mind, it's easier to do heart. Okay, so now I said, but almost any spiritual teacher is teaching, is that the mind is a problem. It can be a problem. Why? Why is the mind doing this? How did it get this way? How did it get so broken? How can it be that it's my mind and I have no control over it? Try making it stop anytime you want. You know what you hear? My mind says, I don't know why I say that. Stop it, mind, stop it, stop it, stop it. Why won't you stop it? Stop it. That's what it will sound like. You know, you can't get out of your mind. Why? Because it's very distracting. Why is it distracting? Why is the mind distracting? I used to give an experiment to the class. There's a little knob inside. It's hard to find. And if you turn it, it's like Google Translate. Really. And it will start to translate to different languages. Everything it's saying will say in a different language. Just turn it to a language you don't know. So if the mind started saying those things it's saying in Chinese or some language you don't know, you wouldn't have a problem, would you? You wouldn't be distracted, would you? It's still making noise. If it was making gibberish, right, you would very soon be bored by it and you would not be distracted by it. And it would just be a background little noise that's going on that you don't need to pay attention to. Wouldn't that be nice? And maybe that's what Baba meant when he said, the mind doesn't have to stop for me to enter samadhi. He wasn't distracted by it. Why would it have to stop if you're not distracted by it? So the key is not that the mind is talking, it's that you're busy listening. I'm going to embarrass you if I haven't yet, okay? You're talking to somebody. They're telling you something personal that they're going through. And kind of like the book when you turn the pages, you're in there thinking about the time you went through something like that. Or some other thing that was on your mind is distracting you from what this person is saying. Can you sit there and have that person talk and not hear a word they have to say? Why? Why? Because you're distracted by your thoughts. Why? It gives you a clue as to why your mind is distracting. It's very simple. Have any of you, I'll do it as a question, have any of you ever had an experience at some time in your life, I don't care, young, old, anything like that bothered you? Oh, you have had an experience that bothered you. Did you ever notice that it comes back? Did you ever notice that a week later, a month later, a year later, 3 years later, all of a sudden it's back? The mind's talking about it. God, why did that have to happen? We were getting along. If I hadn't said that, I don't know. Probably not. This was a divorce that you went through 15 years ago. What's that all about? You got divorced. I thought you were divorced. Why is this still going on in there? Have you ever gone over an argument you had with somebody years later and thought about what you could have said, or what did they really mean by what they said? Years later? That's why you're distracted by your mind. Your mind is empty. Your mind is a beautiful thing. Do you know right now your mind can think any thought you want? Think of a boat. Think of a car. Think of Mars. Think of a galaxy. Anything you want. You have the right to create thoughts. Wow, congratulations. That's what your mind is for. It's a playpen. You have the right to create thoughts. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is when an event happened in your life, and it happens all the time, that you're not comfortable with, it gets stuck in your mind. How about I use that word? It gets stuck in your mind. So you made a collection of things that bother you. And again, I do it as a question. Is it true that you have made a collection in your mind of things that bothered you throughout your life? Thank you. Well, let me get this straight. If you specifically picked event, you've had a lot of events in your life. Like every second you have an event. You have lots of experiences every moment of your life. If you only collect the ones that bothered you, what's your mind going to be like? Bothered. And that's why it keeps talking. That's why it keeps repeating the things. Okay? Now, if specifically your mind has in it, and it does, it also has positive things, we'll talk about it in a minute, but it has some scars, impressions of things that didn't fit good, that didn't work well, that you weren't comfortable with. You didn't let them go. You held on to them because you pushed them away. That's what you do. You push them away, don't you? Get away from me. Get out of my face. You do that inside. So they're stuck in there. So you have this collection of things that bothered you. Well, if they bothered you, you're going to get distracted by them. Because you took this triggered thing, this sensitive thing, and stored it inside. And now every time it says that, what did he think of me? Oh my God, when I was in high school, they rejected me. And I don't want to go through that again. I don't want to go through that again. I didn't mean what I said. Whoa. You got to live with that going on in there? Oh my God, that must be terrible. You think that'll distract you? That's going to distract you. How much? You will get lost in it. You know how distracted you'll get? You will define it as you. That's who I am. The one that had this bad experience in high school. The one that got divorced twice. What's wrong with me? I don't know. Can I get along with anybody? You'll think that's you. It's not. It's your mind talking about the stuff that you got stuck in there. You are the consciousness that is aware. It's the same consciousness. The trouble is this stuff is so triggered, it's so potent, you've made it so sensitive. That's the word, sensitive. Any of you sensitive? Sensitive to a certain subject, sensitive to a certain word? Mother, see Freud. Mother. Yeah, Freud, he says mother, you're in trouble. Because he knows it's going to leave impressions, And so basically you're in there and you lose yourself. What do you lose yourself in? You lose yourself. I love your words. You lose the self. You lose your sense of self. Your sense of self is Satchidananda, I promise you. No matter whatever happened, it doesn't matter. It only matters to you. You think, oh my God, look what I did when I was young and I'm so embarrassed. What matters is your consciousness. It is pure. It is always pure. Nothing can stain it. So beautiful. The Bhagavad Gita has a beautiful area of that Krishna's talking to Arjuna. He said, what are you talking about? The self is transcendent. Weapons can't reach it. Waters can't overwhelm it. Nothing can touch it. It's just the consciousness. It's looking at things. It isn't the things it's looking at. It's transcendent. That's why we use the word transcendent, don't we? It's transcendent. It's beyond the objects it looks at. But those objects, now you store them. They're so powerful. They're so triggered. They're so sensitive that you actually define yourself as the objects you're lost in, and that's it. That is the fall from the garden. Someday you'll understand why, because you'll get out and you get pulled back in. You get out, you go, oh my God, look at that. Why? Why would I get pulled back in? I'm filled with joy. I meditated. I just filled with joy. How long does it take? I don't care that you can meditate. It's very important. You're going to always talk about how important meditation was. I care that you know why you came back after your meditation. I don't want to hear about how great your meditation was. I'm sorry, I don't. I don't ever ask you. I don't take any sharings, anything like that. Oh my God, I saw pure light and I merged back in the thing and my soul spread out and the galaxies were pouring inside of me. Then what? Then my mother called and I got all upset. I want to know about that. That's what I want to know. I want to know where you came back. Because if you find out where you came back, you'll find out where you can't leave. Because it's the same thing, isn't it? You are identified with these thoughts. You lost yourself in your personal self, didn't you? This, who are you? If I ask you, who are you? I don't want to hear what you're going to say. I'm the person that my father left when I was young. And you are not. You are not. That is an experience that took place in life, and it got into your mind, and you couldn't handle it. So you held it in your mind. And now you have all these things held in your mind. Who are you? I'm a person I'm just extremely sensitive and I get hurt. To be careful. That is not who you are. That is the fact that your heart emanates emotions that are sensitive, and you notice this, and next thing you know, you got completely lost in the thoughts of your mind and in the emotions of your heart. That's who you literally think you are. And so now what happens from there? It's sad. What happens from there? You say, well, I don't want to be scared, and I don't want to feel rejected, and I don't want to feel that nobody loves me. So I need to find someone that loves me, and I need to be around friends that accept me. And next thing you know, you've defined your purpose of life to fix the fact that you're lost in your mind and lost in your heart. That's not the purpose of your life. The purpose of your life is to return to God, to return to the self, to return to your birthright, which is Satchidananda. The purpose of your life is liberation, to liberate yourself from being caught in your mind and being caught in your emotions. That's a better purpose, isn't it? Than to go out there and find people, places, things, jobs, situations that make you feel better about the fact that you're caught. Is that what you want? Just compensate? We are doing that, aren't we? That's what we're doing. You know what you use your creative mind for? How do I do something in life to find things that will make me feel better? What's the job? What's the boss? What's the spouse? What's the kids? Should I have another kid? Should I have another kid? What you're saying when you do that is you're saying, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I'm trying to find something that made me feel better about not being okay. That is the lowest part of your being, making decisions. I want to know why you're not okay, not what you can do about it. That's the difference. You're supposed to be okay. You are okay. You're just hanging out with the wrong part of your being. There's a beautiful part of your being that's filled with light and love and joy and ecstasy, and it can handle everything. It can handle anything that goes on in life. Why? Because it's already fine. It's not using life to be okay. It is okay. Wouldn't that be nice? Now come down and do your dance. Now come down and get married and have a kid because you want to express the beauty and joy and love that you have inside of you. Now get up and go to work and do the best you can and invent things and do things and solve things. But you're not doing it to get something. You're not doing it to fix the part of you that's broken. You go there and say, well, why is there a part of me that's broken? Not what can I compensate for? How do I distract myself from myself? So can I go on a vacation? Nothing wrong with vacations. I'm just giving examples, right? Or can I do a drug? The question is not whether it's okay to do a drug. That's not the question. The question is, why do you need to? Oh, it gets me high. I have a psychedelic experience. You don't understand. Nothing is higher than you already are. If you let go, there's the word, if you let go of your addiction to your mind, and that's what it is, an addiction, you'll find out who you are. The question is, are you willing to do the work? If you're sick and a doctor offers you a pill to make you feel better, if the pill doesn't fix my sickness, I don't want it. So maybe if it can't be fixed, fine. There are things like that. But I would rather fix my sickness than be taking pills to make me feel better about the fact that I'm sick. How about you? That's not even naturopathic medicine. That's just intelligence. Fix it. It's the same thing inside. I want to fix what's wrong inside, not get distracted by somebody, something, not compensate for it. So is it possible that we can do that? Yes. I'm interested in liberation. I'm interested in you understanding you are capable of not being addicted to the thoughts of your mind, Doesn't seem possible, but it is possible. How do you do that? It'd take me 10 seconds to explain it to you. The problem is that you stored all this garbage inside your mind. What garbage? The exact garbage you're sensitive about. And so basically, how about, oh my God, he's going to say it. I know he will. How about we don't do that? Don't do what? Store the stuff that we didn't like, the stuff we couldn't handle. It's bad enough that we experienced it. I experienced it. Things happen in life, don't they? To every one of you, things happen in life. Are they fair? Nobody said it was fair. It's a little planet spinning around the middle of nowheres. Where did fair come from? There's just experiences, and you have the experiences. It's what you do about them that matters. There's supposed to be an experience. You learn from it. You grow. Fine, you got married. You were in love. You got divorced. You weren't getting along so well. I hope you learn something. I don't want it just to be a scar that got left on you. I'll never get married again, all right? And you're just defensive. What are you doing? You learn. You learn how you could have got along. You learn what went wrong. You learn what you did. You learn. If you're learning tennis and you hit the ball into the net, do you say, I'm never going to play again. I'm no good. No, you learn. That's what life is. It's learning. We all go through everything. What do we go through? Our life. That's what we go through. Life experiences, don't we? And they're all different for each one of us. No one had the experience. No one ever had the experience you had. You like to be unique? You are unique. No one has ever had the experiences you had. Well, that's pretty special. Now the question is, did you learn from those experiences? Or did you get scarred by holding them inside of you so that they messed up the rest of your life? That's how you go back to God. You let go of the mess that you created inside yourself. You release it. How? Is it possible? Of course it's possible. There are things that you can't do. You can't lift a mountain. You can't travel at the speed of light. But if you're already doing something, if I'm eating chocolate cake 3 times a day, the whole cake, by the way, if I'm eating chocolate cake and I'm doing that, is it possible I could not do it? Or is it like the speed of light in the mountain? No, if you're the one who's doing it, you cannot do it. So you're already proven you have ability. I'm doing it. So now I'll take an example. Somebody comes up and says something to you, and it seems not so right. You take it kind of insultingly. Who knows how they meant it, but that's how you took it. Okay? Well, what do you do about that? I suppress it. I fight with it. I create billions of thoughts about it, how I don't like this person, they're not so nice either. And I did that. Therefore, I cannot do it. If it's something I was capable of doing, it's something I'm capable of not doing. Very logical. There's your spiritual path. Stop it. Stop eating food that makes you sick, and stop holding on to thoughts that ruin your entire life. But there's no buts about it. You are the one who's doing this to your mind. Your mind is brilliant. Your mind is great. The mind can be used for such beautiful things. And instead you use it to store every problem you ever had, anything you ever didn't like. And then you use it to think, your intelligent mind, to think, what can I do now that I'm not happy? I don't feel love. Well, of course you don't feel love. You suppressed every single thing in your heart. How could possibly have you scared to death to open your heart? I'm scared to open my heart and I don't feel love. George hurt me in high school and this hurt me there and my parents hurt me when they got divorced and I can't handle anymore. Fine. All right, so now you've closed your heart and you go out there and ask other people to open it for you. You figure out, I like you. You figure out if you can get it open, because if you can, I'll marry you. I hope this sounds absurd. There. I started a discussion by telling you every spiritual teacher is going to tell you the mind is the problem. The mind is not a problem. It's a brilliant gift that was given to you. Just like your body and your heart. They're wonderful things. Your mind is a great thing. It's what you did with it that's a problem. So let's start working on ourselves. Does meditation help? Of course it helps. Does mantra help? Or some form of teaching your mind to say something neutral? Right? You want a mantra? I can handle this. I can handle this. I can handle this. I want that going on inside your mind all the time. Just behind, layers of your mind. I want a layer of your mind that the moment something happens, it says, I can handle this. Why? Because the alternative is absurd. The alternative is to say, I can't handle this. If you can't handle it, you got another one of those, some scars. You got another one of those blockages inside that's going to mess up your whole life. Let go. All right. Now you see why your mind is a problem. Not because it causes you trouble, because it distracts you from the most beautiful thing that exists on earth, you. You're losing out on the most beautiful thing there is, you. So it's not just the mind causes trouble, it's because it distracts the consciousness from its divine state, from its true state. Okay. Jagradav.